Hey everybody, welcome to EduMatch Tweet and Talk 49. Follow along with us on Google Plus at bit.ly/tweet talk 49 if you're not already doing so, as well as on Twitter with the hashtag EduMatch. Speaking of EduMatch, if you want to be the featured person of the day, then just go to our website at edumatch.education, and there you can sign up and just fill out the form, and we'll tweet out stuff about you around the clock every 3 hours so that everyone around the world can figure out all the great things about you, and we get you some connections that way. I want to give a huge shout out to Army Board, who is going to be sponsoring us for our ISTE meetup, our EduMatch ISTE meetup on the 26th of June of this month. So it's going to be a blast. So shout out to Army Board as well as to XOU. So it's a nice topic. We actually have a double header tonight. So the very first episode that we're going to do right now is that we're going to be talking about equity, particularly when it comes to STEM and STEAM. So on panel, we have two fantastic people. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So Shana, if you could please just introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, I'm Shana White. I am in Gwinnett County, which is in Metro Atlanta. I am a local school technology coordinator there and enjoying my hot summer break so far.
Yes, and it definitely sounds like a hot summer. We were just talking about the weather before we went on air, and it's up there. And now we have Michael, so if you could please introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, my name is Michael Parker West. I'm an instructional technology facilitator at Wake County Public Schools, as well as an instructional resource teacher, which essentially means I'm an instructional coach for teachers in the classroom.
All right, fantastic. We are very happy to have you here, so welcome to EduMatch. All right, so we're going to go ahead and kick things off. I have a few questions for our panelists. We might have some joining us while we are in progress. Also, anyone who's tuning in right now, if you have a question, then go ahead and chime in on the Q&A feature, and we will try to get to it. So the very first question that I have is, what gaps do you identify regarding equity in STEAM, and how do you see them affecting students? So does anyone want to take that one first?
I'll go.
All right.
I think the big one first is there's not qualified teachers, especially in my district. With STEAM, I don't want to say it's relatively new, but for a lot of people, the concepts of STEAM are new because it's basically integrating a bunch of different concepts. We might have really great science teachers, but they have no concept of mathematics or engineering or even technology. So it's people that are qualified to integrate the four, and then, adding the A of arts as well, to be able to integrate those four, I think is difficult to find people that are qualified to be able to do that. I think that the training can somewhat be improved. It's a bit inadequate right now. And then the other big ones, of course, I don't see a lot of females. The cool thing at my school, we had a couple teachers start a Girl in STEAM club, which was awesome. There were like 30 kids in it, which I think is a great start. And then, of course, I don't see a lot of students of color involved with STEAM or teachers of color involved with STEAM. We're blessed at our school. We have STEM class. We don't have STEAM. But our STEM class is run by a black female, which I think is awesome. But again, with that, the inequity is that she gets to pick who gets to be in her class. So she's going to pick, in a lot of cases, I've gone to see her class, she's got all gifted kids in there. And there's some kids that are not gifted that should be exposed to a STEAM or STEM curriculum. So outside of just the lack of training for teachers, some teachers are not equipped to teach STEM, and then the lack of students of color, teachers of color involved with STEM, and then kind of, I feel like STEM in some ways is being pushed on gifted kids or kids that are on that advanced track and not exposing maybe kids that are special ed, general track kids, whatever the case may be. Those kids aren't getting the same level of exposure as maybe some of the gifted kids are.
All right, fantastic point. And yes, you raise a very critical point that a lot of times students who may need that exposure are not receiving it whatsoever. So absolutely. So we just had Carla join us. So Carla, if you could please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Carla Jefferson. I'm the instructional technology coordinator for a school district in South Carolina, and I'm glad to be here.
Excellent, and we are glad to have you. So I'm going to ask the question to Michael, so you'll hear it as well. But the question is, what gaps do you identify regarding equity in STEAM, and how do they affect students? So Michael, if we could get your take on that, please. Hey, Michael. Okay, so the question to you was posed. I think that you just froze and were able to rejoin us. But the question is, what gaps do you identify regarding equity in STEAM, and how do they affect students?
Sorry about that, y'all. Yeah, my Mac just dropped me out there, but I think that Shana is right on. I just want to piggyback off of what she said, particularly about females in the STEM field and the STEAM field and people of color. And I do think that there's new ways that we can teach STEAM education, but I think really at its core, STEAM education is just really great teaching, and I think a commitment to making subjects like math and science, with a focus on tech and engineering and the arts, I think at its core is about making those subjects more real world, and so I think that for me, looking at system-wide stuff as well as stuff within schools, the problem that I see is that in many schools around the country, that's not how we collectively address the problems in schools that we perceive to be as failing. Those kids don't get more arts programs. Those kids don't get a new science lab. They get remediation. They get test prep. They get drill and kill strategies. So I think the first thing about the inequity piece really has to be a commitment to like real education, and I think at its core that's what STEAM is supposed to be.
Absolutely, and you touched on a point that was shared by Dr. Rosa Isaiah. She DM'd me an article that was very interesting about different ways that that resources are used in schools and how it looks very different. So I'll drop that on Twitter, but I'm going to turn the question over now to Carla.
I think what I'm noticing, and this is just from my view, is that a lot of times the access is not provided because teachers are uncomfortable or unfamiliar with what it actually entails. When I think about like elementary teachers who may teach science or social studies, but their background was not in math and science originally, they kind of feel like they don't understand it, and then they're so overwhelmed with all of the other expectations that they're being held to, that it just doesn't seem like it's a priority. And so because of that, we end up not being able to provide opportunities for our students because of our own I don't want to say inadequacies, but that's kind of how that's a way to put it. And even for myself, who I'm an elementary education major, I spent the past 18 years, teaching English, and so because of that, if I don't kind of step out on my own to be able to play around with these tools or research and understand what they mean, then my kids end up not having access. And then I think, again, definitely to what Shana and Michael said about the fact that we don't provide those opportunities for our underperforming students because we feel like we have to give them that kill and drill. They have to be remediated. They have to be able to read and write before they can do those extra things, where if we really would give them an opportunity to use STEAM to play and to use it, in critical thinking, I think we'd find that we'd see a better benefit by allowing them those opportunities, because students are gifted in different ways, and just because they struggle in one area doesn't mean that they won't excel in another, and we do them a disservice when we don't provide them with that opportunity.
Absolutely, that is so true. So speaking along those lines, we're going to just take kind of a viewpoint into different lenses of different types of inequity. So the next question that I have to pose to you all is, how can districts address issues of inequity of resources specifically, and how those resources are applied? So who would like to take that question? first?
I'll go again.
All right.
I think, oh, this is a touchy issue for me, just because being in the position that I'm in now, I'm able to see the inequities from a different lens. As a teacher, you don't necessarily see them. You don't see the workings of the district behind the scenes, but now that I'm in the technology coordinator role, I can see it. And when I talk to other people that are in the same position as me, I'm sitting there and I'm hearing, hey, how did you get a 3D printer? Oh, we just asked the people at the district and it just miraculously appeared on our doorstep. And I'm kind of like, so the district is like Santa Claus for y'all, okay. So I think the big thing is listening to the teachers, listening to the educators, listening to stakeholders in those buildings that have a need. I mean, I think for me, I've pushed the envelope because I have a big passion I hate seeing inequity and I hate seeing kids getting slighted. And so for me, I've pushed the envelope, and I was talking to you earlier, we were talking about your next tweet and talk, that I've basically rubbed some people the wrong way because I point out that, hey, the way you're handling this is not right for kids, for all kids. It might be right for those kids that live in those real nice homes that cost $400,000, but for these kids that live in apartments, it's not right for them. And I think that we have to have more people that are not afraid to stand up and speak out for the rights of those kids. I think that a lot of times, especially at least in some districts, it's people want to, they see their career as kind of like a pathway to something bigger rather than sticking to their guns for stuff that they believe in, to know that the kids always matter first and they always should come first. And so for me, if that means I'm not going to progress in my district, then I'm more about the kids. I don't really care about necessarily me progressing, but if I see that my kids are not getting what they're supposed to get and the kids down the road are, I point that out. I think that I probably could temper how I point that out, and that's what I'm working on. But I think that we have to have more people in buildings that are getting slighted to speak up and say, hey, you know what you're giving these other schools in our district, we should be afforded the same thing. But then also people in positions like I'm in, or instructional coaches, whatever the case may be, equip those teachers in your building to be better able to handle a STEAM curriculum. Teach them, if they're really good in math, help them with the technology or the science side. I know Carla mentioned, because she's a language arts person. I came from PE. I mean, so I'm completely off the spectrum, but I made an effort to learn, and I had a couple people help equip me. And so I think it's also people in those positions that know or understand the STEAM curriculum or understand a little bit of a grasp of what it entails to equip those teachers in your building so that they can speak up, because they might not even know they need these things because they're not aware. So I think it's kind of twofold, but I think it's having more people in positions in buildings to speak up for their kids in the building, but then also equipping others in that building so that their voices will be heard as well.
Absolutely. And I see, Carla, you unmuted yourself, so.
Yeah, I think definitely what Shana said, and then to think about how, like, sometimes it's the exposure to the opportunity. Like, I think about a few years ago, my math partner came to me and she said, hey, I was looking at, it's called Hour of Code, and I think our kids should do it. And I said, I don't know a thing about coding. She said, well, we really don't need to. And so, that was the exposure for me, to even know what Hour of Code is. And I think about, excuse me, how many other teachers unbelievably have no idea what Hour of Code is, or, what those, experiences entail. And so to find a way, and that's what I think about, when I think about my position. And I like, what Shana does at her school is absolutely amazing, like to design the collaboratory that she's designing at her school, and providing opportunities for teachers to understand, what that entails, is this exposure to the opportunities. We have to find ways to get that information out to as many teachers as we know, and then to continue to be a support for them, so these are the things that are available. This is free. This will cost money. These are grants. These are ways that we can assist you in funding your project. These are ways that we can help build capacity in your teachers so that they can maybe in turn then work with other teachers in your building, and in turn work with students to expose them to those things. So I think really it's it's got to be the exposure. We've got to find a way to get the word out to as many people as we can, and then provide them with the necessary support so that they feel like that they will be successful. Because what I realized is when we launched our code with our sixth graders, I didn't have to know anything about coding. I played around with it myself as a student, but when it got really tough, they went to their peers for help. And so, to understand that that's okay, because sometimes as teachers, we don't want to, we're afraid to show that we don't know, we don't understand. So if they came to me and they were further along than I was, I'd say, I don't know, ask Tyra. And so she, another student will help them. And I think that's powerful, in itself as well.
Absolutely. Peer learning is just such a powerful thing. So, Michael, what about you?
So, can y'all hear me okay? Okay. I think as far as what districts can do, I think context matters. For me, I'm in Wake County, which is in Raleigh, North Carolina, and our districts are our counties. So I think that gives me a great deal of amount of hope for, like, if we just got serious about the issues of equity, of resources, about staffing the schools with the highest need, with the most experienced teachers, and then brought programs specifically geared around STEAM to those highest need schools. And because when I grew up, my upbringing, I was born and raised outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and the school district was a very kind of gerrymandered thing that had historical origins and redlining, and so I think there was a deliberate effort in the past to lock out certain people from living and going to schools in that area. So I think their challenge is going to be much bigger than their district if they really are serious about being equitable. The same is true in Wake County too, but I think because our county is our district, there's a lot of diversity of resources, of socioeconomics, of race, that if we just got serious, if we got more serious about the issues around equity and truly making our schools and our district a truly equitable place, where the kids that need the most, as it is now, get the least, and the kids that need the least get the most, and achievement looks like this, it's totally out of balance, why are we shocked? So that's where I think how districts can address it depends on where you're at, and context, I think, matters hugely.
Absolutely, absolutely. So continuing along the same lines, then we're going to switch gears to talk about inequity of opportunities. So, so how can districts address issues of inequity of opportunities, different things that students get to do, and what opportunities already exist that can be applied? So what external resources do you all see that can also be applied in these situations? So Carla, I see you're unmuted, so do you want to go ahead and take this one first?
I think that we have to find ways to provide opportunities throughout the school day to every child. I mean, I think that's one of the things that I see that we miss in our school district, that either it's an elective for gifted students or it's after school or during the summer. And for those students that are living in the low income area and transportation is iffy, that automatically deletes them out of the equation. And I think that also finding, I think being aggressive and finding resources that are nearby that can assist you. We have made a connection with a company or a group, a foundation, I guess, that works with startups, and one of their goals was to increase coding in females. And we also have a college campus on our in our school district, within our school district, and also a governor's school. So tapping into those resources, knowing that sometimes the answer isn't always just within, but tapping into those resources so those governor school students can come and assist and facilitate, whereas, yes, we'll need an adult there, but then that takes the pressure off the adult. So, finding opportunities, throughout the school day, and then also being aggressive and looking in partnerships that are nearby that would be beneficial to you.
Great, great, absolutely. Community partnerships are definitely a strong way to build foundations and help our students. So who would like to take the question next? Shane, I see you're unmuted, so go ahead.
I think the big thing, and this is kind of what I'm attempting to do, is first of all to get your district, and we're similar to Michael, like our district is our county, to get them more connected. I know Sarah has done like large scale with EduMatch, but there are people in my district that don't even talk to each other, and they teach the exact same grade level and the exact same content, and that's a problem. And so for me, that's part of my vision for year 2 is we're going to develop virtual collaboration between schools. So our 6th grade ELA class teachers will basically Google Hangout with a school in our district and talk about instructional strategies, talk about what works, what doesn't work, because a lot of ideas come through those meetings and things that maybe you are not even aware of that these other schools are using. And so that connection needs to happen first. And I think a lot of districts don't do a good job of making sure their educators are connected within their district. And then to me, going to the next level, we have our big district digital learning conference on Tuesday. And one of the sessions that I'm offering is how to use social media to grow as an educator. And so I think getting educators connected to outside people, like Carla said, she had no idea what Hour of Code was, but somebody else did. So that person had to have heard it from someone else. I know Hour of Code is huge, but there's a lot of other little small things that people have never heard of. But if I'm not connected, I definitely am never going to hear about them, because if I'm on my island in my little box, there's no way in the world I'm going to hear about this website here, or this platform is free, or how can I get grants and funding. So I think not only connecting your educators in your district, in your school, but to also connect them to the outside world, because as I tell people, there's always somebody doing it better than you. Go learn from them. And a lot of times people don't feel comfortable doing that, but you need to. You need to step outside of your little island and realize, hey, and we're the biggest district in Georgia. I get it. Everybody wants to say yay, yay, yay for us, but there are people doing it better than us all over the country. Go learn from those people so that you can do it better for the kids. And I think getting your educators connected not only within your district, but also outside. And that, to me, has been the lifeblood for me, because a lot of the ideas that I've learned or had, I've gotten from Carla, from Sarah, other people in my PLN that have said, hey, you know what? Google Expeditions is coming to Georgia. I had no idea they were coming, but I applied once somebody who lived in New Jersey named Regina Schaefer told me. So it's getting people connected will help with the whole problem, as Carla mentioned, that people don't know about these opportunities because they're not connected. They stay on their little island. They don't go try to find these things out. But if I connect with people outside of my little world, I'm apt to learn a lot of things.
Absolutely. That is so true. Connection and talking, communication, that really helps to keep us fresh and keep us ahead of the game and learning and knowing what to do, what's best for our students. So, Michael, what are your thoughts?
I just think that Shana had it exactly right. I think teaching is an incredibly isolating profession, and social media, I think, has the potential to really connect us beyond our own classrooms, beyond our schools, beyond our districts. I just saw a tweet that I guess Edutopia had posted, that rafranz Davis had cited. She makes this comment about, an investment of time in your own growth is like a down payment on the growth of your students, and I think that is a truly, that's the right mindset that I think more of our teachers and administrators and school leaders across the spectrum of professions in education need to adopt, because, like Shana mentioned, like there's people all over this country doing things differently, doing things better. We can learn from those people, and I think that to be so sort of myopic to think that your way is the best way, I think is doing a disservice to kids. So I definitely think that the seeing what the possibilities are outside your sphere are hugely important.
Absolutely. Well, I would love to thank the three of you for your fantastic insights tonight. I think that this was such a great conversation and so many great ideas. There was also some great conversation going on Twitter as well. So thank you to everyone for joining. So this will be, the transcript of the Twitter chat will be tweeted out in the next few minutes, and the audio from this Google Hangout will be available as an iTunes podcast. So if y'all come back in a little over 30 minutes, then we are going to be talking about LMS for better or worse at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at bit.ly/tweettalk49A. So one more time, bit.ly/tweettalk49A. So anyone can be a panelist. There's still room available. Just leave a comment on that Google Hangout page. And Carla, I saw your comment. Yes, we would love to have you on that. You could also subscribe to the EduMatch podcast at bit.ly/EduMatch podcast. So one more time, just want to give a huge shout out to XOU as well as to Ormy Board for sponsoring the EduMatch meetup on the 26th of June at ISTE, and also wanted to give a huge shout out to all three of you, but specifically also to Carla and to Shana. The ISTE Digital Equity PLN will be doing some work at ISTE, so definitely looking forward to that and speaking more about this topic. So everyone have a fantastic night. Hope to see you back in an hour or next week. So take it easy. Everyone have a fantastic evening.
Thank you all.
Thanks.